Welcome back. Well, with inflation rising further, we're seeing more strain on organizations and talent at this time as employees leave organizations for better opportunities. It puts their production under risk for most companies. Let's see how organizations and talents can navigate all of this. Joining us now for this conversation is Fred Okobi, Head Business Intelligence and Research at Phillips Consulting Limited. And we also have Tracy Afolabi-Johnson, Senior Consultant, People Transformation Unit at PCL, both right here in the studio. Great to have you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice
to
Yeah, so definitely the inflation numbers, keep rising at this time. I know this is putting a strain on the worker at this time, and even on on the organizations too. So talk to me about the Jacka Syndrome right now. We know this is really impacting, organizations that used to have like 20 people in a department now have about 5. Doing the same job. So talk to me about how this is impacted. I'll start with you.
Yeah, so the thing with the Jacka Syndrome is, or we'll call this relocation at this time, the incessant relocation has impacted, human capital. And so what that does is it sort of impacts output, right? You do not have the same number of people doing the same, jobs, and in terms of quality, you start to ask yourself how, what is input like? Right? How businesses starting to think, how do you keep the best hands? How do you manage, people who remain, and how do you make them satisfied? Right. So the goal of the report itself was to figure out attrition. Right? How do you manage people who are your best resources, right? And how do you keep them going so that you don't keep losing people and then having to train new ones, really?
Right, because it is a challenge, bringing in new people and having to train them at this time. But break the report down for me now, because we've seen situations where 10 people were running the show at some point, that we see maybe 5 leave and 5 have to carry on the work of the other. So how do you keep those ones that stay? How do you keep them happy? Talk to me about how this plays out in your report.
Okay, so really for now, it's really beyond money for employees. People understand the current state of the economy in Nigeria, and they know that it's affecting businesses. So employees are looking for things beyond money because they have that understanding. So what are the other ways that we can keep employees motivated? How can we keep them happy? How can we keep them engaged? And that's where the non-financial reward package comes in. While we were developing this report, we wanted to get opinions of employees on what their companies are currently doing, to offer them, to keep them retained and happy within the business. We also wanted to get the perspective of the employers. And so we carried out this and we asked them those questions. And from the outcome of the survey, very few organizations currently are offering their employees non-financial reward packages. And we have few of them also, they mentioned that it's being done fairly and also done very poorly. We also asked employers the same question. What are you doing to attract and keep your employees? We asked the employees the same questions, and the same thing, also occurred. And during the session that we had 2 weeks ago at Whitbaker, one of the CEO of First Primos, he mentioned that also that CEOs, business owners are really looking for how to keep their business profitable, achieve growth and profitability in their business. And they're just open to any initiatives at all that will keep people, that will keep their employees happy. We also asked the employees, what are the things that we can do that will keep you happy? And they were not related to cost at all. We had things around work-life balance, recognition programs, remote work, career development opportunities. These are things that would keep employees retained and happy within the business.
Yeah,
so we spoke a lot about this in the report.
And with keeping employees happy at this time, you also need to keep the organization happy and profitable going forward. So talk to me about how difficult it is for organizations at this time to actually make the disposable income is disposed, at this time. Talk to me about that.
So the title of the report really is finding a balance between the economic challenge and your talent management strategy, right? So we're looking at both ends. We're looking at the employees and we're also looking at, the employers. And so what we found out really is that, employers in this case right now are managing, their finances, right? They're being smart with it. They're managing finances. They're not just throwing, away, salaries, but what they're doing is they're increasing flexibility. And so today you would notice that are a lot more commonalities. We know that COVID has changed the way we work, right? So you see a lot of people working from home. You see a lot of flexible relationships between employers and their employees. We know how the cost of living crisis has impacted everything. With that, with transportation being a huge chunk, right? And so what that does is you have a lot of people who can now work from home, make sure they are not having to be at the office at every time, and just to make sure that operations financially are safeguarding their businesses, or businesses are safeguarding their operations while keeping their employees happy.
Yeah, and you did talk about the first mover advantage in the market. Break that down for us.
Can I pick that? All right.
Yeah, fine. Why not?
So what that means really is that some businesses are getting it right. Right. So there are businesses who I'll give PCL, Philips Consulting Limited, as an example. Philips Consulting Limited has been working from home since COVID, right? And so what that means is, as the economy has been changing, right? We were feeling the impact, right? But we're not having to feel the impact as compared to people who will work, who go to office every day, right? And then when you look at also non-financial reward, Philips Consulting, they go through a lot of trainings, right? Every quarter we have, myself and my colleagues go through a lot of quarterly trainings. So businesses are changing the narrative. I know of, I won't name names, but I know about firms who yes. I will give this example. This is a financial reward, right? But they are adjusting salaries to not directly match inflation, but to let their employees know that, look, we understand that things are going on, and it is impacting how much you earn monthly. And so what they do is that they adjust salaries slightly every month. So what does that do for the employee? They're excited. They want to be a part of this business long term, or however the case may be. So what that means is, so what first mover advantage means is, businesses have to step away from that top-down approach where you and your stakeholders just agree to what employees will do, and then give them that okay, this is the route we should follow. A lot of times you have to figure out, okay, what do they really want, and that is where Tracy at People Transform, she's a people transformation specialist. So what she does, what PT will do for you is find that peculiarity between your industry and then the nuances of what your employees want.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Tracy, there's also the barcode for the report. Definitely, I'm sure they would like to know how it actually works, with the barcode, and how you can actually download that report.
Okay, so I think you can go to LinkedIn. We have it on LinkedIn. We have the link there. So just scan it. Once you scan it, you get the link, and then you can click on it and you can download the report.
Also right there on our screen. Right now you can also scan the code, and you also get the report, every detail right there. And I'm sure it wasn't easy, putting that report together. But break it down for me. I'm sure you found some really interesting, unusual details, when you were putting that together. Talk to me about that.
Okay, so that's why we call it non-financial reward packages. So we have the idea that people are looking for money. Again, like I mentioned earlier, people understand where we are right now, and the generation of the workforce that we have today, they are looking beyond money. They want a place that can offer them career development opportunity, a place they can grow in their career, a place that doesn't stifle their creativity, a place that promotes flexibility. That's what the workforce is looking for right now, and that's why forward-thinking organizations are going to create policies and processes around that. Outcomes of this survey, most of the responses for what would keep them in a business and keep them engaged the highest was learning and development opportunities, because they want to grow in that business. There has to be an alignment between the business goals and their personal goals. They mentioned flexible work also, a place where you can come in at will and close from work at will, a place that you can work remotely or go on some days, and that is even connected to productivity. It helps the business productivity. It helps you think of other ways that you can measure business productivity. This is what the people are looking for today, and this is what we captured in the report. So businesses can look at that report and look for other creative ways that they can keep their employees engaged and ensure that their business is productive outside money.
And definitely we know when organizations are trying to save money, they're going to try and shave off some of the labor force working for them at that time. But talk to me about, as an employee, how to keep your position to make sure you're not one of those that has to be cut off?
Oh, it's simply about, finding ways to be better, right? Taking on greater responsibilities within the firm. You have to step out from, okay, this is my role. You have to step out from that narrow scope of, okay, this is my role and this is what I should do, right? You have to start thinking beyond that. So how are my decisions, how are my responsibilities impacting, the greater business as a whole, right? So with that thinking, yes, the business will understand, look, you're not just an employee, you have a buy-in into, whatever the business is trying to achieve.
Right, and Tracy, still looking at the whole Jacka Syndrome, I'm sure there are some bright spots, because we've heard some people talk about, you leave the country, you go and get some good opportunities, but you still come back here and do some great things. Is that what you're seeing?
I'll give an example. Someone in the banking sector that we interviewed when we were developing the reports, he mentioned, oh yes, people want to japa, but the grass is not actually greener on that side. It's not so easy as people make it seem. For him, he's enjoying where he works here. He praised his organization, they are doing things to keep them productive. So he said he would rather focus his energy on achieving his goals there while looking for side hustles, other ways to generate revenue. So really within Nigeria, people are thinking of survival strategies, thinking of other things that they can do outside their 9 to 5. That's why this flexible work arrangement comes in. As long as I can give in my best to this business because I'm working within my time, I can do other things to generate revenue, and I'm still happy within everything that is happening in the confines of the country.
Now, how do you balance that without getting distracted, from your main work?
Oh, it's simple. KPIs, strict KPI. What am I supposed to do in my organization? What are the 3 things I'm supposed to achieve? Once I can get that going, I can also do other things, and that's where productivity comes in. Being able to measure your productivity. Right,
and definitely the minimum wage issue will definitely play into all of this. At this time, we're still seeing negotiations between the federal government and labor. At this time, do you think this keeping workers on edge?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it would keep workers on edge because again, it's a domino effect really. If labor settles on how much they think workers are worth, and then employees and then employers will start to ask themselves, okay, so how much do we pay people in the private sector? It is such a it's a tango, right? I'm really hopeful that they reach a middle ground sometime in the coming weeks. But I guess I believe the goal of this report is trying to figure out, so what do you do when money isn't enough, right? How do you figure out how to satisfy your employees? How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them excited, right? And so for the public sector and also the private sector, employees have to start thinking in this regard.
Right, and Tracy, definitely, talking about employees started to think, in that level. We know organizations will have to step it up, at some point, to meet up with most of the obligations at this time. But break it down for me, where the headwinds are there, right now, but we all have to navigate it, somehow. So talk to me about how both the employees and the organizations can actually work together and not work against, each other in this situation.
I think it starts with business leaders, managers, HR leaders coming to understand what really matters to employees and then getting their buy-in, getting their opinion. Because there's one thing about shoving things down people's throats and then getting their buy-in into what you want to implement in the business. So just getting people, asking them what matters to you, what will keep you happy, what will keep you engaged, and then finding what the return on investment will be on the business, seeing how it's going to affect the business, and then implementing it, creating processes, policies around them, implementing and also assessing the impact it's having on the business and the employees. Once you do that consistently, continually, and keep on getting their feedback on it, you're going to achieve success.
And talking about getting constant, feedback at this time, definitely that takes a lot, of commitment, from both sides. How do you keep that going?
First of all, let me say that PCL will help you get great feedback at any point, in the business. So help you as a business, make these decisions. But I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy to do, right? I mean, it takes a lot of work. But feedback can be taken at any time. It can be taken when you want to make huge, massive strategic decisions, right? It can be taken when you also want to make decisions that will impact the livelihood of your employees, right? So you have to keep thinking about when will feedback be necessary, and when do you think, look, I mean, by virtue of the industry or the sector that we work in, I mean, our employees will value this. So it's
Right, and from what you've seen from this report, so far, I'd like to get your outlook for this Jacka Syndrome, in Nigeria right now, and for the organization, because we keep hearing about divestments, at this time, and definitely those are people, losing jobs. When you see divestments, what are you seeing in the future? Seeing the macroeconomic headwinds right now, both of them.
Okay, do you want to answer that?
I think that that's why we just have to keep on being innovative, thinking of new ways, new solutions, new ways of doing things. Both people, both the business leaders, and both the employees. That's why I mentioned that people are also looking for other ways they can generate revenue aside their 9 to 5. That's how employees are, adapting to everything that is happening, to the economic situation. And also for business leaders, they are thinking of other things that they can do in their business. What are other product lines that we can explore? What are other services that we can offer? So we have to keep on being innovative constantly for us to adopt everything that is happening in the economy.
All right, and I guess all hope is not lost at this point.
No, of course, all hope is not lost, yeah.
All right, I want to thank you both for coming on.
Yeah,
We're talking to Tracy Afolabi-Johnson, Senior Consultant, People Transformation Unit at PCL, and Fred Okobi is the Head Business Intelligence and Research, Phillips Consulting Limited. It was great having you, you both, and let's hope we all don't jackpot something.